After so long, I finally got around to watching Transformers 1 with my sister, and I gotta say, I get the hype behind it. I really enjoyed the movie. Today, we are going to be breaking down Transformers 1, talking about what I liked, and if there's anything that I didn't like about it. We're going to be going through it step by step with spoilers ahead, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with Mini YouTube channel. So, I want to talk about the movie in general first. I always wanted to see, and this is coming from a guy who's a big Transformers fan, I always wanted to see a prequel movie on Cybertron with no humans. Of course, something that a lot of us have been frustrated with the Transformers movies in the recent years was the focus on not Transformers. It's ridiculous, and I love the fact that they actually went this route. Now, I have a little bit of mixed feelings about the kind of route that they took with this. First of all, the story was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing the Optimus Prime becoming Optimus Prime, Megatron 2, and really setting things up, and it looks like they're going to actually make another movie. I'm mixed on how much I liked the idea of like a fun, jokey movie, because on one hand, it takes me back to when I was a kid watching Transformers cartoons and playing the Transformers game, Bumblebee joking around, Optimus like, while being more serious, it was more of like, the Transformers were having fun. But I've really come to love like the serious tone of the Transformers movies. Like I'm talking like the Michael Bay movies. I hated the last two Transformers movies, man. But like Transformers 1, 2, and 3, loved it. And I was kind of hoping it would be a little bit more on that angle. I just think that they took the kind of joking around, like, you know, like the humorous aspect of it. I think they took it just a little bit too far, but that is such a minor thing. Like, it still brought me back to my childhood. I sat down and watched it with my sister. Like, I made a whole day of it, man. Like, we were watching a really fun UFC card. Before that, I went over to my mom's early, watched it with my sister and my daughter. Like, it was a really good time. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I also really liked the art style. I thought it was fun. Again, brought me back to, you know, watching Transformers as a kid. I loved the story of Optimus Prime, but let's actually dive into the storyline over here. So we begin the movie right away with Optimus Prime, but he is Orion Max, and I'm not too familiar with like the Transformers lore. I'm going to assume that it was accurate to the lore because that's what a lot of fans would want. I just like, when I was watching Transformers as a kid, it was very on and off of like things like Transformers Prime, Transformers Animated, things like that. I would just like, if it was on, love Transformers, I would watch it, but I never actually like properly followed the story. Regardless, Optimus, or you know what, I'm going to keep calling him Optimus because I'm going to keep messing it up, okay? Optimus is looking to look into how these Transformers were actually created. He snuck into somewhere he wasn't supposed to be, almost got caught. We kind of see that he's a mining bot. He doesn't have a Transformer cog in his chest, and he just wants to be more than he actually is, but unfortunately, he is a mining bot. He wants more for his life. He's causing issues. He ended up getting Elita 1 demoted because he went in to go save Jazz, and the cave was like kind of collapsing around them. They needed to go grab energy, which they didn't necessarily know why, but of course we're going to get a little bit into that. And I think that reasoning comes in pretty quick because Sentinel Prime, which is looked like as like the Transformers god at this point, which I was a little bit confused because I didn't know that Optimus wasn't a Prime. I thought that he was like one of the last born Primes, but regardless, again, we can get into the story a little bit. Sentinel shows up and everybody's treating Sentinel like yeah, Sentinel, woo! And I wasn't sure if he was going to be a good guy or a bad guy at the beginning. I didn't know if this would be kind of like attached to the actual movies that were released. I don't think they were, but I was like, okay. Sentinel ended up betraying because a deal had to be made with Megatron, but he was ultimately a good guy. I didn't expect him to be a bad guy, although it was a little bit untrustworthy, right? Because like, hey, you guys are doing great. We're sending you on a mission, right? Sentinel Prime, everybody's looking up to him like he's a hero. He's starting a race, which is, I don't remember how often they said he has, but it's like a really important race for all the Transformers. Optimus and Megatron, which was cool to see them like be buddy-buddy, by the way, you know? The way they were. I wouldn't have expected Optimus, and I think that's another thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Optimus wasn't like the leader that we all kind of know him as, but I know he was like an immature version of himself. I just didn't really like seeing him like that, to be honest with you, but it still was a fun movie. So I have really mixed thoughts on that. I don't know if anybody else could relate to that, so please let me know in the comments. Regardless, they have a big race. They started. Optimus wants to show that the minor bots can actually be worth something. They have a really fun scene with the race. He baits Megatron into going, be like, hey, yeah, I'm just here for you. You really want to watch the race? So we're going to have a really good viewing of it. Bang. Gets him forced and participate in the race. And I don't know, I kind of wanted them to win the race. I thought that would have been cool, but regardless, they got all of the attention to the miners. Workforce was up. They were doing great. They actually ended up giving them hope because the miners kept actually getting to first place. They actually placed well, but they ended up like barely losing. Regardless, Sentinel ended up sitting him down afterwards and was like, hey, I think it's great. I think it's awesome. And then, you know what's actually, what the part was that really made me like not trust Sentinel anymore was, I love a bot that can think for himself. And they're actually like, we're setting him up to be like, hey, we're going to do something great for you. But they got tossed down into some other unit where Bumblebee was. Bumblebee again. They kind of made Bumblebee be like a big idiot. That's my only problem with the movie. But again, my problem is I have these characters. I've known these characters for so long. I've watched them in so many movies, but I have to understand that like they're detached from those movies that I know. I thought the movie was really fun and I enjoyed the characters. It's just like Optimus isn't supposed to be like that. I don't think that Bumblebee's stupid and annoying. You know, like that's my only issue with it. Regardless, they get sent down where Bumblebee is like going crazy because Bumblebee's by himself and they're just throwing out garbage and salvaging junk, you know, like anything that might be worth keeping. Optimus is like, nope, we're not doing this. They end up making an escape. They run into Scarlett Johansson again, and they end up actually going up to the surface. And now this is where the movie actually picks up, is when they get to the surface. I loved seeing, like, the entire landscape was beautiful. I loved the artwork about it. If you guys aren't brand new to the channel over here, something that I'm fascinated by is graphics and scenery and art and things like that. I loved the way that the surface actually looks. So they were weak Transformers. They had to hide from everything. There were things that were trying to kill them, of course, right? They were in the middle of the war, but they ended up stumbling upon all of the dead primes, all but one. This is where they end up learning about Sentinel Prime, who he is. They ended up like figuring out that he was actually a traitor, which at this point in the movie was not shocking. It was explained to all of them that every Transformer has been born with a cog, and Sentinel ended up taking it away in order to control them and just mine and then be zombies, which totally wouldn't happen in the real world, right? There's not like anything that could actually kind of relate to that, keeping us all depressed and everything, you know? Like, I would never suggest such a thing. But I always find those types of plots pretty interesting. And like the good guy, you have to overthrow him. I also like the little subtle hints of Megatron becoming Megatron, going like, oh no, Sentinel has to pay. And it's like a little bit of a slow build up, but as slow as you can get, because of course this is a movie about how everything kind of began. Regardless, they end up getting the cogs put on them. The Prime equips them with the old Prime cogs. They can transform. We have some really fun scenes with them learning how to transform. I like the fact that they didn't know how to transform. Had some really fun scenes with that. Had some good laughs. Bumblebee was great, especially, I don't remember at what point he figured it out, but when he figured out that he had knife hands, like he's like, I have a battle mask? I have knife hands? Whoa! Like, I thought all of that was really fun. It just made for like a really good time, man. But other than that, Sentinel's forces ended up like really showing up real quick, and they captured that Prime. Sentinel ended up killing him. And like, I thought this movie was a little bit more geared towards kids. I was surprised at the fact that Sentinel actually killed him and then did something to Megatron, which we're going to talk about. But as we continue on, the movie continues up with the main group kind of dodging Sentinel's forces, and you still have that little hint of Megatron. I even looked at my sister and I was like, there's Megatron. He's being Megatron a little bit. And she's kind of looking at me like she already saw the movie and she's excited to show me, because I wanted to watch this movie in the theaters, but if you're new to the channel, I'm a new father. So it's difficult to sit down and watch movies at this point, especially with like, I have a lot of work going on, okay? I meant to watch this movie a lot earlier than I actually did, especially as a Transformers fan, okay? Regardless, I looked at her and I was like, Megatron's being Megatron. And then she already knew what was up, but we also have like Megatron D16. He ended up rising up. We had a really cool scene with Starscream. Very weird to see Starscream in power, but usually Starscream, as Starscream typically is, he was easily overthrown by Megatron, and he was really, really feeling the power. And I like the fact that too, like, you have these little hints where he's like looking at Optimus, where he's like, I'll lead. No, I got this. And he's like looking at him like he's like a little bit corrupted, a little bit evil. Megatron quickly becomes the new leader of that entire group, though. They have a battle, they lose, they're captured. And this is like another part where I was like, whoa, I thought this was for kids, because Megatron had the Decepticon sticker, which was Megatronus' Prime's image, I guess. And I didn't know that. I don't know if this is part of the Transformers lore. I didn't know that it was his image. Sentinel mocks D16 and brands him. I'm like, whoa. Whoa, Megatron's going to be furious about that one. But what was crazy about it, and I actually like, you know, I always liked Megatron, you know. I like the fact that no matter how many times Sentinel humiliated him and destroyed him, the dude wasn't sitting down. He's like, you will not defeat me. And he keeps getting back up to his feet over and over again until another battle ended up taking place where Megatron ended up actually getting the one-up on Sentinel Prime. And this is really, like, it was immensely intense, this entire scene. I loved it. My favorite part of the movie, where you can actually see Megatron, like, filled with rage. And at this point, he still loves Optimus, right? But the switch kind of turns. Like, he has been corrupted. He's evil now. He is going to execute Sentinel. Optimus gets in the way and said, no, we can't do this. But Megatron, wanting to start an uprising, hating everybody in charge, will never, ever trust a leader ever again. He's like, no, we're doing this. He deserves to die, which I'm on Megatron's side. It would be better if Sentinel was no more right after everything that he did. Like, let's be real over here, okay? Optimus, though, actually giving the traits of, like, who Optimus, like, is. He ended up telling Megatron no. Megatron pushed him away. And when he actually went to go finish a job, he ended up shooting Optimus Prime really, really bad. Felt bad about it at first. And then, like, the corruption completely 100% took him because he saved him at the end. And I'm not shocked, but, like, I was shocked about how, like, actually heart-wrenching that was. Because that scene hit me, like, it was very, very well done the way they did that. Megatron, you can see his eyes change, going, I'm done saving you. Falls to his death. He rises up. Megatron is now the leader of, I don't think they called it the Decepticons, but he was the new leader. They're starting an uprising. No more anybody in charge. He's for the people. Of course, though, we all know that Optimus Prime is not ready to die at this point. He falls down to, like, the middle of Cybertron, where he meets the Deb Primes, where they end up deeming him worthy. And I know they mentioned something along those lines at the beginning of the movie. I don't remember where, but regardless, he ended up getting the Lost Matrix. He transforms, turns into Optimus Prime. And I forgot to mention that Megatron took Sentinel. Was it Sentinel's cog? Megatron took something that ended up making him more powerful into a Transformer, into Megatron. So we had the first little battle with Optimus, Megatron, him coming back, Optimus being the brand new leader, Megatron being the leader of the Decepticons. They have a cool fight, but unfortunately, that fight is cut short, and I saw it coming because I know it's just a prequel. Optimus doesn't finish the job as Optimus typically wouldn't, and hey, I know you hear Optimus Prime, like, actually lose it here and there, but, you know, Megatron had to survive. Megatron vows to come back for vengeance. They all leave. Optimus ends up taking charge, and the movie kind of wraps up pretty quick there. He ends up giving Elita 1 a brand new commander role. He ends up being friends with Bumblebee. I like the way they set that up, and I like the way that they close out the movie. That whole, like, final act was very powerful. I enjoyed pretty well the entire movie, man. I didn't mean to come off negative about how I felt about the characters. It's just like, I really enjoy serious Optimus. I really enjoy the movie not being so jokey, but I also loved, like, the callback into watching this as a kid, man. And I'm not saying it was like a kid's movie. It's an all-age movie, and I really enjoyed it for what it was. It's just, I have mixed opinions, and something that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the movie is the voice cast did very well. Chris Hemsworth was an odd choice, and I kind of had the same reaction like I did with Chris Pratt and Mario, but everything ended up being okay, and he ended up being great. Chris Hemsworth did a great job as Optimus, and I know the voice of Megatron is familiar to me. It's not coming back yet, but I recognize Scarlett Johansson as well. Like, I enjoyed them all, man, and I wasn't sure how I was going to feel because Optimus' voice wasn't going to be Optimus, but I can deal with it because it's a younger version of Optimus. If the movies continue and we get, like, the actual Optimus Prime, the one that we all know and love, then I will be disappointed with Chris Hemsworth's voice. You need the original Optimus Prime voice. That is just too iconic, too great, but the voice cast did great. Kind of like I was worried for nothing, like the Mario movie, you know? I enjoyed this movie. I hope there's a second one. I don't know if there's another one in development, but regardless, let me know what you think about it down below. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Why don't you check out this video on screen right now? YouTube thinks you will like this video the best. I would love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Take care.